What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode, Conspiracy or Just a Coincidence. I am Jack Allen. So today, first, my video is off and Janet's video is off because my internet's running slow. Maybe I'll pop in at some point. So I'll see if I can I'll bring up our articles on the screen so you have something to look at. But today, I've put it in the show notes and the title, but the reigning queen of Conspiracy or Just a Coincidence with the highest viewed video, Deplorable Janet from Deplorable Nation. Janet, thanks for being on the show.
You are such a sweetheart. I really cannot thank you enough for having me back on. And you can tell your woman she should clone you so everybody could have one of you under their tree because you're such an amazing sweetheart. Not that you're into the cloning thing, but
I will let her know. Make sure
on
she
your
feels that same
personality.
way.
I bet she
I
does.
got it, Janet. Yes. Well, some days more than others, I'm sure. You get to see the good side.
I'm sure there's not a bad side. You're too nice to have a bad side.
Thank you. So how has life been? I haven't spoken to you in a long time. I don't know when we last did a show. So how's everything been for you?
It has been really busy lately. Extremely hectic scheduling and such going on. I've been on a lot of different shows lately and trying to record some of my shows at the same time. So I've been keeping busy and I'm slowly and surely working on a cookbook. So there you go. That's my free time.
No way. You're doing a cookbook?
Yep, sure am.
Wow. What kind of cookbook are you doing?
I don't have a cookbook. I don't own one, and so I'm really good at making things up. And so this is kind of anything that comes into my
Yeah.
mind that I make, but it's kind of different because I do not measure stuff out. So it's got, you know, breakfast and
Wow.
dinner
So is it
and
like, yeah,
sauces
like what
and
kind of recipes and stuff?
everything. Yeah, everything under the sun. There's breakfast granola, there's jerky,
Wow.
there's all kinds of stuff. Yeah. So it's a slow process.
Good for you, dude.
Thanks.
Oh, I can't. That's awesome. That's so great. And then is it like, what made you decide to do that?
First it started because my daughter was always calling me and asking me if I could think of a idea for certain things to make for breakfast or dinner or whatever. She's like, "You should write a cookbook. You should write your recipes down so I can
Yeah.
have it." And then other people started asking me things. So something I did the other day was actually make up my own recipe for low sugar cookies, low fat, or not sugar cookies, but low sugar oatmeal raisin cookies. So I made a healthy recipe that just came out of my own head and tastes better than anything you could buy on the market. So there you go.
Wow. Good for you. You're doing
Thanks.
that's awesome. Well, let me know when I am always Googling crock pot recipes
Those are
and
the best. There's some of those
meals
in
that
there
probably
too.
can be cooked under like 30. Yes. Yes. Well, good, because that is my forte is crock pots. That is where I live on crock
Hey,
pot.
crock pots are a necessity for everyone.
Yes, I agree. So I wanted to first thing I if anyone I would pull up the video, guys, but my internet like is acting so slow, so I'm not going to do it. But did you see the video of Kyle Rittenhouse at Turning Point USA, Janet, yet?
I have not. I'm assuming this is a new
Let me see
video.
if I'm gonna try and pull it up. It could he was just there, and like I've said, like I'm gonna try and pull it up so we can here, I'll do it like this. But like I think Kyle, he obviously was innocent. He was acted in self-defense and all those things like that, like
Right.
rational things. But I'm gonna pull up this here. I got the video up, so Well, I want you to watch it, so I'll put it on the screen here. Oh yeah, you can see it perfectly. All right, now let me
Yep.
unmute it.
For Kyle Rittenhouse.
This is but that's just Sarah. But what is your take on this video?
It looks like some kind of a concert, but you know, I saw a video kind of like this of Project Veritas, where they were like dancing around and there was FBI
Oh
agents
yeah,
surrounding him and stuff. And I'm like, what the hell have we become in society that you can't go out and just talk? You have to, put on this kind of a show. It's kind of a
right.
turnoff for me. Like I have no desire to
Yeah,
watch
it's
something
just
like that.
like I don't know what's the I don't know what the point of it is. Carl, one guy that he's turning Kyle into another idol, and it seems like that it's like no one should be. We all are happy that he got off. We are all know that he was innocent, and the people that were killed weren't. But that I don't know what I'm trying to say is he's not like a rock star or like a mercenary or an assassin. He's a kid that probably, in hindsight, would he have made that same decision? I don't know. But to celebrate him, like it's just, it's so weird. It's so weird.
Right, I don't get it, and I don't get the elevation into basically like a mainstream music icon or something. I mean, because if you if you're trying to get the
Yeah,
country
like,
behind you, that is probably not the way to go because most of us are like so done with, you know, Hollywood and rappers and, all that kind of stuff. It makes me lose interest in even wanting to watch any of it.
that's a great point. Right. And you're right. All of us are like, especially on the right, hate Hollywood, hate all this stuff. And yet you're doing like I know Turning Point is just such like but it's just so pathetic, basically. Like why do we need to do like you are opening yourself up to ridicule and abuse if you're trying to like bring people into this like traditional values that you claim you have. This is definitely not the way to go about doing it. I remember they had at
Exactly.
Turning Point, like in the summer they had like that energy drink, Bang energy drink.
Hmm.
They like had girls like in tight clothing, like twerking on the
I knew you were
stage
going to
at
say
a
twerking.
supposedly conservative. I
Well,
was trying to
maybe,
think of a nice way to say it, but that's what they're, and it's like,
maybe
dude, who is like, yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, since they were twerking, maybe they borrowed all of the nurses from the hospitals that had been sending out the twerking videos over the last year. So they just hired them for the Turning Point USA conference. Just saying. Kill
They
two
had
birds with
everything
one
choreographed,
stone.
so it was perfect. Yes, it was a seamless transition, seamless.
Oh my.
But
It's a
yeah,
bridge
I
too
just don't
far.
get like I don't the right like it's yeah, and it's just alienating. Like, do you think this attracts young kids? I guess that maybe that's probably like their argument. Like, oh, look, we're hip, we're just as cool as the left, and they're all their celebrities. But are they? Like, I don't. What kids are you trying to attract? And you're not going to win over billions of dollars of movies, advertising, Hollywood with
Right.
having like the air horns on stage introducing Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yeah, no, it's garbage to me. And like I said, just watching that Project Veritas dance number and whatnot, I was like, what in the hell kind of programming is this? And buy tickets to the experience.
Yeah.
No, no, thank you. That's not on my list.
Yeah, I remember now that I just saw the one, like he was like, they had the FBI jackets and he was like doing like a boy band dance.
Yes,
Just
yes,
total
that's the
insanity.
one. Yeah, that's the one, and I was like, "Is this supposed to be like comedy? A really bad attempt at comedy, or is this really where they must have hired like a really awful marketing person that was like, oh no, trust us. This is all the rage. This is what
Yeah.
people want to see. You are really turning off your audience, but maybe they hired somebody and that was their sole purpose.
Well, that, yeah, right. Or it's like, I think it's also, there's also like the point of this is to just like make you feel like you're totally without a camp. You are so without any group that you can identify with. Like the left is total insanity. And then you have the right, and it's just like, it's like I forget what they say, but it's like there's like a picture of a sprinter, and that's like Democrats or whatever, and then the
Hmm.
parachute behind them is the Republicans. And that's literally, that's what that showing Kyle with the confetti and air horns is exactly like that. What is the difference? What's the difference between you two? Like I just want something that's like a world that I recognize to pass on to my children, a world that's not in total chaos and filled with degeneracy. And you're doing the exact same thing, maybe like a lesser degree, but the same thing.
Right. And I would rather go and see like much scaled down production of that than feel like I'm watching King James walk out onto a basketball court. Sorry. Was that sarcastic? It might have
No,
been
but I just wanted your
just a
take because
tad.
it's just like so crazy.
Yeah, it is. It is. And like I said,
Dude,
there's
I won't
definitely
even. Yeah.
somebody did this on purpose.
Yeah. Right. Because I can't, nobody could have said, oh, that's home run. You nailed it. That's the idea we're going to run with
That
right
was
there.
the best
There's
thing
no
I've ever
way. There's
seen.
no way.
No, no, it's terrible.
Get this guy a promotion. So I wanted the next, so I didn't read the article yet, but I just found that, so the IMF and the World Bank, two uh, timeless classic organizations that have always had our back. The Bank of
Right,
International Settlements, they made sure that Nazi war crime money was going to give him back to the right people. So great organizations, clean records. They were practicing a scenario where, all right, leaked on the dark web combined with fake news, where basically the financial system collapses.
right,
And this is concerning because anytime they have done any simulation, it has happened in real life. So
correct.
I know you didn't read the article, Janet, but you think that this is good news.
Well, no, but here's the thing. This was definitely planned. So this is the second stage in the step because it was actually initialized by Klaus Schwab, at the World Economic Forum, and they had already
Nice.
said there was going to be a crash of the economy, and of course, internet providers and utilities and things like that are supposed to go offline and things of that nature. And for people that don't know, the IMF is the International Monetary Fund, and Jack and I discussed this before when we did our Vatican issue, because the IMF is very deeply tied into the Vatican because that's where initial IMF funds were going through the Vatican. And so now, of course, they have the big banks that are involved. So you've got, Deutsche Bank and what is it, JP Morgan Chase and all of these people that are also members of
Mhm.
the World Economic Forum. And what I think is going on and what their plan is to ruin the dollar, crash the economy so bad that they put cryptocurrency in place. And I find it ironic Not only the amount of cryptocurrency that's out there now, but also Trump just released his own crypto. And I've been seeing people all over the place.
No way. Did he?
Yes, he did. Like advertising and stuff for it. It's the
Oh,
Trump
wow.
coin. And I'm just like, okay. So you've got Facebook, who was trying to do their own crypto. You've got Trump in on it. You've got all these other ones that are popping up like all over the place, outside of Bitcoin, but all these random cryptocurrencies that are popping up. You have websites that only pay content creators in cryptocurrency. And so I think this is all part of their big agenda, is to destroy the dollar, which they've already done a good job with the inflation anyway, and then replace it with the cryptocurrency system whenever our systems go back online. Because that way they can completely control you and what you're spending and where you're going and the whole 9 yards. It's easier for them to monitor you through cryptocurrency.
Yeah. What's your, I wanted to, I mean, that was a perfect explanation. Wow. But I was reading a book. I'm going to release it tomorrow, but FDR, and like the New Deal, all that stuff. Like there was a depression, obviously the Great Depression in 29, which was caused by the bankers. It was JP Morgan and them. They set a rumor out that some bank didn't have enough money. And so then they all ran on that bank, which caused a chain reaction, and that ran on all the banks. And then there was one in like 1880s, I think, or right around then. And it was the same thing. And they did this so they could say, look, we need a central bank. And there was even a quote from Rothschild in the New York Times, I think. And it was like, wow, America is so lucky to have a man like JP Morgan to bail it out.
Yes.
JP Morgan won't always be around. You guys should really get a central bank. And it's like, dude, so they've been behind every single collapse. And now, since they have total control, they're printing into oblivion. And that's why. So what is your take on, because I know people feel very strongly about crypto and they feel very strongly about flat earth, but what is your, and I don't feel strongly on either, but what's your take on crypto?
I am not a fan of crypto. I never have been, because the way I view it, which this is probably going to upset some viewers, but you know me, I'm always going to be brutally honest with my opinions. Cryptocurrency to me is and always has been the dark underbelly of society. It started out that is where they were tracking child pornography and child trafficking and weapons on the black market and all these things that were the underground cesspool belly of our society. My view of that has never changed, because those are facts. And I always thought there's no way ever that I'm going to invest in something like that. Number one, when they tell you, oh, it's safe and secure, those are words I stay away from, because there's nothing safe and secure about that. And when you have places, like I said, that pay content creators in cryptocurrency, and then those creators cannot get that money out to use it or to transfer it or anything like that, that's another control mechanism in itself. And then if you tie this in with the IMF and the World Banks and all this stuff that's going on, and couple that with Elon Musk talking about Web 2.0 or Web 3 or whatever the hell it was he said, where they want to have they want to have a internet service, basically, that's controlled by cryptocurrency. Now, if you think for 2 seconds that you're not going to have the same players, the Zuckerbergs, the Jack Dorseys, the Google people, the whole 9 yards, controlling that as well, you're sadly mistaken. Because who owns the largest chunks of cryptocurrency? It's the people with the most money. And so this new Web3 that
Right.
they're pushing is another form of control in itself based on cryptocurrency. And if you don't have cryptocurrency, you
No,
can't
I
participate.
agree with like, right. Well, I think you bring up like all good, right? Control. They can totally, and everyone will say it's totally anonymous. Dude, there's like nothing anonymous. I'm
Right.
sorry.
And
Like, and also I know this is going to be like super, no, go ahead.
well, I was just going to say that think back to when they were trying to put voting under blockchain. And again, the words safe and secure. Oh, it's non-breakable. And this Web3 is based in blockchain stuff as well. If it is internet based, there's always somebody that controls that. There's always going to be algorithms that you can beat. There's always AI technology. And so this system is going to be no different. So if the IMF crashes our economy and goes strictly to a cryptocurrency based system for society, it's complete and total control. And that's how they work in the chips that they want to have everybody have,
Right.
that controls your
Right.
quote bank account and your medical records, and your criminal record, and basically everything else all rolled into one.
No, I totally like, I have some crypto, but people put like, I hate to be so negative on this, but like, when has anything ever like organically happened that was good for us, good for freedom, good for liberty,
Right.
good for your all these things? Like, and I hate to say this, but like, it's just they don't allow it, dude. They stop anything in its tracks that it shows a sign of break. Like, these people have controlled the financial system since like the 1700s. They're not just going to give it up because somebody thought of this idea.
Right. And
They
you
just
were
won't.
absolutely
They
correct
just
before
they're
when you were talking about JP Morgan Chase, and setting up the Federal Reserve and the centralized banking and all of that stuff. He was a main player behind all of that. And then, of course, you've got the other banking families that, of course, came from a lot of them from Germany, a lot of Italian families as well. And so you have the Schiff family, Adam Schiff. His family was rich bankers from overseas, so they were pulled into that fray as well. And it was, what were those meetings called that they used to go to? Oh my gosh, I'm having a brain fart. But it was
I
like a
sadly don't
secret.
know.
Yeah, it was like a basically almost kind of like a secret society meeting where it was only the rich, wealthy people that were allowed to attend. And every once in a while they would have like a senator or something like that. That's the exact same way, the same way that they set up the Federal Reserve and the centralized banking system. It's the exact same way that they intervened and set up the medical system in the United States, and the military industrial complex. And, literally
Right.
every piece of pie that they have their hands in. And it came out of those meetings. And I can't, oh my gosh, I'm having a total meltdown, but I can't remember what it was called. But it was basically only elitist that were allowed to go to these things.
Right.
And JP Morgan Chase was always there. Always. And of course,
Right.
we need to
Well,
push bailing out even like the automotive industries and stuff. They're always behind that kind of business.
right. Well, all these like even in the New Deal, they they had all these like, oh, we're gonna help the little man. This is gonna help you. The papers tell you that they every single industry, besides Ford. Ford was the only guy who wouldn't support the New Deal and wouldn't donate to politics. But they're all like the coal industry, the steel industry, the car
Right.
and Chrysler and GM were owned by JP Morgan. Every single one in all those companies, they gave, I think it was 78% to FDR's campaign. They pushed the New Deal, they pushed this National Recovery Act. Now, why would they do that if you think that it's going to help you? It's not going to help. And it's just the same
Right.
tactics. They will push they'll call their media cronies to come in and say, hey, come on, you gotta this is good for you. Support this. But and no one will look a little deeper and be like, wait, these guys are behind it. So
Right.
the fact that they're talking, like mainstream people are talking about crypto now, it just seems natural that that's the progression where it's going to go.
Right. And that's the thing is that like I said, all these people, especially the family that owns Google and whatnot, those are the people that, you know, have pushed cryptocurrency to the front and center, and they're all working on their own crypto or type of crypto, and Facebook started messing around with that a long time ago. But these
Hmm.
are all the same people that are literally going to own anything new that is started, because even if like you and I were to start our own form of something, they would come and try to buy it out because they have the money to do
Mhm.
so. And it gives them complete and total control of the
Yes.
internet as you know it. Because even like Trump was supposed to start his own internet service, and so and so is going to start their own internet service, and the whole 9 yards. Darn good well they're going to sell out, and so it's kind of like the honeypot,
Right.
in my opinion, where they're
Absolutely.
going to get everybody on these
Right.
quote free speech sites just to turn around and shut them down. So that's what I
Right.
think.
I absolutely, dude, you're 100% right. Like they have so much financial backing. They'll either buy you out or they'll ruin you with lawsuits. I mean, there's millions of ways they can take you down. So, and like it's not just like this just started. Like I even said, like the New Deal behind it had all these so they line stuff, or they like how they're going to do with climate. Like, all right, if you're a company, you need to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes for the climate to help the planet, knowing
Right,
well that none of these small companies will be able to do that. And that's
right,
what they did with the New Deal. They said you need to provide, which are good things, obviously, health insurance, like disability, all these things, which any company that, was just starting out then that's going to challenge the big guys, they know they can't afford that. And so they either sell out or they go under.
oh, 100%, 100%. And just before I forget again, it was the Jekyll Island. It was the meeting at Jekyll Island.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So there you go.
Right.
Like I
They
was having
even
a total brain
switched
fart.
they switched the train with the Jekyll Island. They would switch the employees when they
Yeah.
were going down there, so nobody would know they're all meeting.
Right.
Isn't that great? Like, I'm sure obviously it was a great thing for humanity when you have to switch witnesses so nobody will know where you're going. That's how you know it's a good
Exactly.
thing.
Don't worry. It's the government. We're here to help.
Right. It's exactly that. And I think there was one guy who they named the original Federal Reserve Act after, and he was a politician who was like
Yes.
Rockefeller's, like his wife's dad or something like that, and he wanted to put his name on it so badly, and they said don't put your name on it because people are going to and he so elitist and narcissistic, he put his name on it, and that one failed in like 1911 or something, and then they just got it
Right.
through with the Federal Reserve. But that's like the epitome of these people. Like they're so narcissistic and elitist that they think like, no, people won't get mad that it's called the, Jack Allen Act. They like me, or whatever.
Exactly. It was Nelson Aldrich. He was the
Not
chair of
Janet, you are
this.
the best. Way to
He was the
go.
chair of the Senate Finance Committee. Yeah, because I was gonna do like a whole entire show on the Federal Reserve before, and then the person I was supposed to record with
Mhm.
couldn't do it. And I had literally spent like, I don't know, a week, and I was so brain dead because it is the most god awful boring stuff to ever like read.
Right.
I was like, I
That
don't
no, but
have
that's a
any
lot of
brain
work.
cells left. Yeah. So yeah, and that's, it was like he even issued, I think, like a Aldrich commission special paper or something. I don't know. I
Yes.
don't remember, but yeah, it was one
Yeah.
of those things where he was like Mr. Big Pants, and he's like, I'm going to do it just because they like me. Yeah. hmm It did not work out well.
I wonder, no, but that was so good. That was a great trivia question that you got that name. I wonder though, because obviously these foundations still control everything, but
Right.
who's like does it just get passed on to Bezos and Gates, or like what, I guess they're okay with their family taking a back seat. Do you know like what's your take on, because Rockefeller obviously isn't a name that's in the headlines anymore, but you have different. You think it's just like a passing of the torch type of
I
situation?
think what they do a lot of times, because the Carnegie Foundation and the Rockefeller Foundation are still behind a lot of stuff. It's usually fronted through philanthropic organizations and whatnot that
Mhm.
basically are put out front to take the brunt of stuff now. Because I think they figured out over time that
Yeah.
their family names were getting tarnished, basically, and so they're, in my opinion, pushing other people to the forefront to be a focal point while they're still really doing the work in the background.
I
That's
see.
what I think. And it's funny because
Interesting.
all of
No, I think
these
I was just wondering.
yeah, and like all of these bankers or billionaires, trillionaires, whatever you want to say, they're all involved in quote philanthropic organizations, and they all have their own organizations or agencies that they set up, and a lot of them have multiple, like George Soros has, I don't know, last time I checked, it was like 38 different agencies or something that he runs money through. And to me, that's a way to funnel. That's a way to make a lot of slush funds in a lot of different areas so that the money is uh, more difficult to be traceable. Personal opinion.
Mm, right. No, and you're right with those foundations are so. I think it was when they started, it was like right around the turn of the century, 1910 or something, right around there. But that one, it was so funny because Rockefeller's guy who started this idea, his last name was Gates, and he was a minister.
hmm
Like, how evil of a guy, but he was a Baptist minister, and his Reverend Gates, and he was the one that was like, dude, you need to put your money and use it as as a guise of philanthropy. Don't build
hmm
libraries like JP Morgan's doing. Put it to use and start these schools. And that was brilliant idea, super evil, but so brilliant.
Well, and then you have like even the Obama school that was set up, of course, in Los Angeles, of all places, um, which was kind of funny that, people send their kids there in the first place. But it's like, this is another one of those organizations where, um, you know, or even like Kobe Bryant or other people that quote built a school, but then they
Mhm.
really only gave so much money, and then the taxpayers had to pay literally the rest of the build cost. plus the
Oh,
upkeep, the maintenance, the whole 9 yards. Like Conspiracy Kyle talks about that all the time because one of those schools was built in his area, and it was a basketball player, and I can't remember who it was right now, but it's like,
was it
they all
I think it was LeBron James's
LeBron,
school.
yeah. And so, it's like, that's a big deal. But like the taxpayers ended up actually footing way more money than what he actually put in.
Wow. I didn't know that. That is crazy.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting that they funded for the rest.
Yeah. Well, the
Oh,
taxpayers
God.
pretty much, they just have to pay for everything and anything and everything, and then pay for stuff that you would never pay for in a million years if you had control. Like,
Right.
I was telling somebody this on a show the other night. I said, if you ever look into like the waste and abuse from our government and the things that they fund, quote, wink, study wise, and it's like, are Beatles gay? You're spending like $1.2 million to see if Beatles are gay or if certain things turn them gay or, whatever the case may be. Not bashing gay people. I'm just saying these are the kind of things. And what people don't understand is that's our money that they take to say that they're doing these studies. I mean, if you're going to spend my tax dollars to study that, I would like to read the results. I mean, I'm just curious. You
At
know what I'm
least.
saying?
At
Yeah.
least. Yeah.
At least
I
you
want
can
to
do is
know.
publish them. And so to me, I don't really think they're doing a lot of the things with their tax dollars that they say they're doing. I think it's more of a slush fund type thing. And they just,
No, I think you're right. Because, yeah.
So the thing is, I really
Right. No,
am
I totally agree.
I'm hoping in the next year that with the amount of tax dollars that they are taking from us, that they're giving back in bribes and kickbacks and stuff to our government employees, I'm hoping and praying that somebody gets Nancy Pelosi some dentures that actually stay in her mouth. And probably a really good lighted
Now,
makeup
I
mirror.
wouldn't mind.
A good lighted makeup mirror as well, so that
That
she
I would
does
feel
not,
at least our
she can't draw 2 sets of eyebrows on her face that way. So I'm just saying. Christmas wishes, people.
I think that would be a fair way to spend our tax dollar. I would if my extra $50 goes to that, I find that's a worthy cause.
Me
So I don't
too.
need to
Me
keep
too.
looking at it.
Exactly. Me too. Maybe
Well,
put her in
speaking
AA
of
and get her off
California,
of Xanax.
well, speaking of California, so this is my I don't know what I was reading or working on, but I remember. So I was doing these serial killer episodes, and there was this story, the one serial killer in Texas. So he gets arrested in the 80s, or let's say, okay, and he's in jail for like 12 years. He committed horrible crimes, or maybe he was in there for like 30 years, and they said, you know what, like there was this big push to be progressive in Texas, like let's give guys second chances, let's let's move to the new century. And so they let him out. They said, we're going to give him parole, he's going to be fine, we're second chance. And within 6 months he gets arrested for drug charges, then he gets arrested for beating up prostitutes. So already his parole should be violated, but they don't bring him back in. He ends up killing 2 kids, horrifically. And the public is up in arms, like saying, like, how could you let this animal go? And I wonder, like, we're obviously having this huge, there was just in Philadelphia, a Congress lady robbed in broad daylight, carjacked. What do you think about this logic that they're allowing this crime to happen so we can cheer on usher in a new police state at some point?
I would say I probably tend to agree with that because, as we've seen over the last, I don't know, what's it been, 3 years now, all of the Soros-backed prosecutors that are put in, and there's no bail for, no cash bail for offenses. We're raising up statues to criminals. We're letting serial rapists and murderers and pedophiles out for quote COVID concerns, even though like the other people are
Mhm.
still in prison that had lesser offenses. Um, and to me, it kind of reminds me of like the color revolutions throughout history, where they have these people that are the worst of society that they let out, they take pity on. You can riot, you can loot, you can shoot, stab, kill, machete someone's head off, whatever the case may be,
Mhm.
as long as you promise to do our bidding, and to be on our side and to go do what we say, burn down cities, um, uh, attack politicians, attack the other side, whatever the case may be. To me, it's like the color revolutions have been throughout history, where they use a specific, uh, I'm going to say degenerate group of population
Mhm.
to do their bidding,
Mhm.
to get the outcome that they want,
Interesting.
because if they can create enough havoc and chaos, then they can take control through a police state. Because look at us now. People are standing up and fighting back for their freedoms. People are defying their orders to stay away from each other at holidays and don't have social gatherings and don't sing, don't talk loud, don't, whatever the case may be. People are defying that. And so that would be one of the tactics they would use to shut that down completely, so that they have easier control
Mhm.
of the people and your finances and your vehicles and your housing and stuff like that. Yeah. So I think you're right,
No,
spot on about
yeah,
that.
because they and that like that's why because I read Program to Kill by Dave McGowan. And I mean that book was written 20 years ago, but his like I think like his theory was that they released these serial killers, they did MK Ultra on all of them, and
Right.
they just like the Charlie Manson stuff, like he was in jail forever. They let him out, and he's on parole. He gets arrested for drugs. He gets arrested for having sex with a minor. He gets arrested for guns, for having an arsenal, but they don't send him
Right.
back to prison. Like I'm on probation still. If I ever violate, I go right back. Like that's how sometimes you get like 3 chances, but for the most part, if I got caught doing something bad, I would go right directly back to jail. And so the fact that all these serial killers, they all got the same skate, and so they would come back out, and it was the only purpose of it was to scare, like, now people are afraid in their community. They don't know who's going to kill her, who's going to steal their child, who's going to kidnap. There's monsters on the loose. So now that shuns you from your community, and you're begging for safeties, like you just said, your freedom's getting taken away. And I also think it works dual well, because so they got rid of, now you're afraid of your community, you're afraid of your neighborhood because you don't know what's going to happen. And now they're using that same kind of propaganda with your family. And look how much they've torn apart families. And then what happens when you
Right.
do that? Like, then people are so alone. I know I just kind of changed subjects on us there, but
No, but
isn't
that's
that's
true.
what I see is happening now. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so true because there has been so much of the breakdown of family that has gone on, and it's like seriously ramped up over the last several years. And even through, online schooling, you can't go to school because we're in the midst of this deadly bullshit. Um, and so you have to do it online. And then you have like Justin Trudeau talking directly to the kids and telling the kids to make their parents leave the room and only listen to me, listen to the message I'm giving you. Report on your parents. Don't let your parents watch what we're teaching you at school. It's okay not to have a father figure because, woo, feminism, and you don't need a man.
Right.
And so, wasn't it not too long ago where they're like, oh, well, that's what's wrong with a lot of kids these days is because they don't have a father figure. Well, now this move for feminism, and sorry not to be offensive, but not sorry, the move for transgenderism. And here's the thing. It is males transitioning to females is the largest percentage of sex reassignment surgeries. It is not the other way around. So all of your men in that group are turning to female. They're taking female hormones. They're having the reassignment surgery done. You have males that are competing as females in all different kinds of sports categories. And so not only that, but the feminization of males. Let's put you in a lacy romper and parade you out on stage, or you're a big burly basketball player, let's give you a purse and a tutu. And so they've been really concentrating on this in every sense. And this came down from the Tavistock Institute, working with the World Health Organization to push new curriculum into schools. And this is a recent thing. And like I said, in the last couple years, where they're teaching this new curriculum where sexuality or your biological sex also includes all of the fetishes, all of the philias, how things make you feel and stuff like that. It's not your biological gender anymore. It is all of your basically like sexual deviances is now part of your sexual identity. And this came from the Tavistock Institute,
Right.
which when they started pushing this in the Common Core curriculum, that of course was adopted into the United States, that's when you basically lost the father figure. And it's all through these different means of stuff. And they have, the Tavistock Institute has their very own, they have lots of different quote agencies or organizations that are part of Tavistock under that main umbrella. And one of their largest ones is for helping people transition to, change their gender and whatnot. And they actually got in deep doo-doo because most of the people that they were pushing through this program for sexual reassignment surgery were actually people that were on the spectrum, moderate to severe. And so they had, they're taking, people that are majorly mentally handicapped and pushing them through this organization to transition. That is messed up.
Right.
But it was like the government was like, oh,
So,
slap,
dude, I
slap
saw
on the wrist.
that was awesome.
Thanks.
Right. That was such awesome information there. I saw also like I don't know, but Arizona, like Christian University said, like from 13 to 21-year-olds, like 42% identified as, LGBT, all those things.
Mhm.
And obviously, like, I will give like, okay, I'll give you like I think like in the 50-year-old generation and up, it's like 0.03. In my
Right.
generation, it's like 3%. I'll give you 3%. I'll even give you like 4% as people
Mhm.
that, whatever. 4% of the population identifies in this area. Okay, I'll literally, and I think I'm giving you more than that that would happen in nature with no propaganda, but I'll give you 4%, but 40%, like
Yeah,
you
no.
can't tell me that is not because somebody is pushing something.
Right. And, when this first surfaced, many years ago when I was still practicing, it was called body dysmorphia. And so that means that you have a distorted body image. And so this was considered a mental illness, where people couldn't, reconcile their feelings on stuff like that. But now it is so much to the point where even in preschool and kindergarten, like say you have a boy that just wanted to play with a doll one day, well, then they're automatically talked to about gender reassignment surgery at 5 or
Mm.
6 years old. And this is what we started doing. And then the Tavistock Institute is also very famous and very well known for people like Sigmund Freud and, all of his nephews and stuff working there who train like a bunch of psychologists, psychiatrists, therapists. They have a whole special therapy organization there too. But they train these people and they send them over here, and they're in the school systems and stuff like that. And so they have normalized behavior, or like basically chastise the rest of the population because you're not confused. Well, if you're 5
Yeah.
years old, your brain has not developed yet fully anyway. And so when you're telling a 5-year-old, I really think you're a girl. I really think you're a girl. You should probably talk to your parents about being a girl because
Mhm.
your mannerisms are girlish. You
Mhm.
probably are not really a boy.
Mhm.
What do you think that does to a little kid? And then they
Right.
go home and they're like, "My teacher said I'm not really a boy. I'm a
Yeah.
girl." It's because
Yeah.
they don't have, and they start really young now teaching this garbage in schools
Yeah.
because they don't, um, they have to get them younger and younger before their minds are already shaped by their families. So that's another way to separate families from each other.
No, I think you're and it's yeah, it's at you're absolutely right. Like all those kids are so and it's I think all like you were saying earlier, you know, mental issues, emotional issues, like people that used to find we all want a purpose in life. We all want to be a part of something bigger than ourselves. We all want to
Hmm.
feel like we have belong and people that used to find that in church because church groups also accept, everyone. But I used to
Right.
see this in the rooms, which is code for AA or NA for anyone listening. But in the
R-
rooms, you would have people that they weren't like really addicts. Like they didn't, they would say they're addicts, but you could tell like they weren't really addicts, but they were lost. And so they
Right.
found this group that accepts you no matter what. The only condition is that you say you're an addict and
Right.
they will love you and you can hang out with them. They're your friends. And that's what I kind of compared this movement to is because these people are lost and they will love you, they will love bomb you, they will give you encouragement and say how proud of you they are, but only if you identify with their group. And it's like
Right.
it perpetuates growth for people that are lost that
Right.
don't. Yeah.
Well, and think of it this way, like all of the psychological experiments that they have run on the American people throughout history, and all of it is like a lot of the experiments that they did that were the more famous ones is getting people to succumb to peer pressure, and putting all of these kids in a room and say you have one that has like a reading disorder or writing disorder, and then the rest of the class doesn't have a problem. And so what do? We chastise the student that doesn't read or write very well compared to the other kids, and see if you can get them to convert to be like the rest of everyone else.
Mm,
Um, and these are the kinds of experiments that they have done on us throughout history, where they introduce fear and panic, They introduce the mind control aspect, and they see how far they can bend you until you break and then until you conform. And this again goes back to the Tavistock Institute, because they initially started this as an experiment on soldiers of war from World War I. And what they would do is subject these soldiers to like horrifying conditions, mental torture, things like that, and see what their breaking point was. So when you have an organization that's built on this, where it's a control thing, and how much they can push you until you break, and then couple that with the long list of psychological experiments that they've done on us here, and compare that to the things that are going on now.
Right.
So how can you get all of these kids to conform to whatever you want, whether it be the LGBTQ community, pressuring them to be a part of that, or whether it's pressuring them to take place in climate change issues, or take place in whatever. And it's like a lot of it involves bribery. And so here, we'll give you free pizza for lunch. We'll order, Papa John's or whatever for lunch, and we'll give a pizza party if you guys will agree to go to this pride parade, or if you go to this climate change event, or if you go to this Democratic convention. And it's always some kind of control and bribery involved. And that's exactly what's been going on in our school systems, as far as not just teaching the LGBTQ and the transgenderism and gender studies and inclusionary measures and things like that, but also pushing critical race theory and things like that. And it's what they can do to get you to conform.
No, that's such a good point, dude. Because you're right. They'll be like, "Oh, you need extra credit?
Right.
Go to this event."
Right.
Oh, that's so true. And you're right. And those kids, again, you have hormones, you're self-conscious, even more so with social media. Everything you do is analyzed, you're made fun of,
Right.
and so much. And now, so if you don't belong in these groups, you are ostracized. You're afraid you're going to be ostracized. So if you're a little self-conscious, it's like a pipeline to these agendas, because
Right.
you don't have the confidence as a 13-year-old boy to stand up against, or girl, to stand up against the group who's yelling at you, calling you all these names. It's much easier just to go along to get along as a little kid.
Right. And one of the things that they started doing when, sorry to bring up Trump again, but when him and Hillary were running against each other, a lot of the schools would have mock elections. And if you're voting today, like, who would you vote for, Trump or Hillary? And then they're doing these things in school systems that are like in Los Angeles. And then, it's like peer pressure. The people that normally would have voted for Trump are peer pressured into voting for Hillary, because then they have to expose who they voted for after they voted. And so this is another kind of experiment that they do on the kids, that again leads to conformity, and how much pressure can we get them under to change, or will they actually stand up and be the one lone kid in the class who doesn't? But this is the kind of stuff that they do literally all the time in curriculum. And then if you think about also like the lovely female that is in charge of Portland, the governor of the state, coming out and saying that colored kids it's too challenging for you to read or do math. So you're not going to have to do either to be able to pass school, because it's racist, because you can't keep up, basically, is what she's saying, because you're black or you're colored. And so there again, you're putting into the school system where you just you conform to this new normal. And I want to know, Kate Brown, where are these students going to go to work when they get out of your school system? They can't read, they can't write, they can't do math. And it's okay, you don't have to do that now, because the governor said you don't need to do it because you're not smart enough to keep up, so we're going to do away with it. Where in the hell do you think these people are going to get a job?
Right. Yeah.
So they're creating a whole new worker class system, like Russia, like China, like any communist society where they don't value education. You are just put through to be a worker bee. Come work at our government factory because you don't have to have an education.
Right. Well, it's everything you explained. They did this experiment in the 50s, the Ash experiment.
Yes.
And it was where the social pressure from could get a person to choose the like they knew the answer was 4, whatever, but they have the whole group in on it. They're saying the answer is 5.
Right.
And the people would change the answer that they knew was 4 to 5 because the whole group took the different answer. And that's exactly what they're doing. What you're explaining. That's the exact same thing they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's all about, like I said, conformity, control, peer pressure, fear, the whole 9 yards, anything that they can do to put you under control. And some people still do not even know or see that that's what's going on, even at the basic level in our school systems. They don't understand that. It's like one big experiment that they're creating right now. And you're allowing your kids to participate that.
And you're absolutely right about creating that new worker class, because that's been the goal since forever, is to remove the middle class that was created in America, because we still have some power, soon none, but they need to bring us all down to that welfare state and with the surveillance state, and you will never step out of line because your bank account is in crypto. You have no skills to get outside besides this government job. And
right. And that's the really sad thing is that people are participating in the dumbing down of society and the dumbing down and destruction of your own children and your own children's future, because we are creating a class of angry, volatile, uneducated individuals that are going to contribute again to that color revolution society where it's sowing chaos and anger and violence and stuff like that. And then you've got that same group of people that's going to be the worker bees, because the most dangerous means in society is a population that is intelligent, free thinkers. That's very dangerous for them, because if you have creativity and you can think outside of the box, you can problem solve, you can forecast in the future, like, think through steps of what things are going to look like in the future. That makes you very dangerous to them and the cogs in their machine.
Oh, I love it, Janet. That's so what the answer is: learn, read, and teach.
Right.
And that's how we get, instruct yourself, instruct your family, as much as they're willing to listen. But that was a great show, dude. You killed it, as always.
Well,
that's why you're the reigning queen.
I don't know about that. I'm a queen of something, all right. But that's my whole thing. You are not a conspiracy theorist. You are not any of the other names that they like to label you and call you. If you are out there using your voice to even help one person learn something, you are a teacher, you're an educator, you're an instructor. That is your job, that's your calling. And even touching one person, you've made a difference for the better in society. So there you go.
Oh, that's a nice positive note to end on,
Thanks.
Janet. I love it. That's great. Where
Well,
can the people listen to Deplorable Janet?
you can find me on Instagram at Deplorable Janet. You can find me on Twitter at No Janet, KNOW. You can find my podcast on every podcast platform available, even some of the really off the wall ones. You can also find me on Alt Media United and actualactivist.com.
Nice. Well, I will put if you want to send me the links, the last two,
Sure.
but I'll put them all
Sure.
in the description. And Janet,
Okay.
are you, what's your plans for Christmas? What are you going to be doing?
For Christmas, it is just the two of us this year because, our kids are adults now, and so they're both spending time with their significant others. So it's just him and I. We're going to, church service on Christmas Eve, and then Christmas Day, we're just gonna sit around and stuff our face with cookies and stuff.
Hey,
The important
that sounds
things.
perfect.
Eat
Janet,
and be happy.
Yes, hey, that's exactly it. That's what we have. That's how we fight back.
That's what the holidays are
So,
about.
Janet, thanks for doing the
happiness.
show. This was so good. We had, yes, we had no plans for everyone listening. I was at a loss, and Janet made this an awesome episode. So, thank you. Go listen to Deplorable Janet. Go follow her everywhere, and have everyone have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you for
having me. All right, Janet.
me.
Well, thank you. Anytime. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.